so that you know the panelists and me, and then we will get straight into it. Is that okay? You know how I roll. So I'm going to start with your good self, please.
Hi, everyone. I'm the Chief Technology Officer for a company named Criteria. We're the world's leading global talent success platform. We've done more than 80 million assessments around the world for 4,000 customers, 20 plus languages. And I think what's really exciting is we're at the intersection of this frontier of technology and how it's changing our daily work, and also how it's maximizing and augmenting our human potential. So thank you for moderating.
Wonderful. So Chris, optimist is what I had in my head, but let's see where we go with that. Thank you, Chris.
Hello, thanks for having me. My name is Seyad. I'm the CEO of We Are Developers. We run the world's leading platform for education of tech professionals and software developers. I happened to be a software developer myself, but I was so bad at it that I tried management, which kind of was probably the better choice. We also happen to run the world's largest events for tech professionals, AI engineers, and get a lot of insights into how companies, both SMBs and enterprises, work internally. So I think that's very great to be on this panel. Thank you.
Wonderful. And I say your name is Seyad?
Seyad, yes.
Seyad, perfect. Thank you, Seyad. And now, why don't I introduce myself before I go to this lovely person here? We have some banter going on where, you know, when I was saying that I need to be strict, it's because he had prompted me to do that. So, but, you know, he's the good child. So as you know, I am a BBC foreign correspondent, and I think the reason I've been asked to moderate this particular panel is because I gave so I give keynotes around the world. I'm a thought leader. And I went back to my university and gave what do you call it? When you graduate, that commencement speech. I gave a commencement speech. Thank you. Can you believe I gave that? I can't remember the word. Anyway, basically, I lecture at universities, and then I get young people ready for work. And this year, it's been the hardest it's ever been. Not this year, 2025. As in, when they're graduating, it's been the bleakest it can be. So I'm with that, and I've worked in over 185 countries, and I think about the values of countries, all based on the book, The Values Compass. So with that, I'm going to ask my lovely panelists next to me to introduce themselves.
Yeah, hi, I'm Cyril. So I represent the International Workplace Group, which is also a world leader in a flexible office space. We are by and large the absolute biggest. We have about 5,000 locations across the world, which is more than 5 times our next biggest competitor. We open in a year about as many centers than our competitors typically have. What is flexible office space? To make it simple, we essentially offer, I'm going to have a branding line here, vibrant work experiences. What is vibrant work experiences? Essentially the ability that you can work in highly centrally located sites of very high quality and get exactly the type of work environment that you as a company desire and that the employee wants to get. So in other words, what we do related to that panel of the future of work, look at us as being the guys where the talent strategy comes together with technology and policy. Because in the end, whenever you have talent, you can attract talent or talent comes to you. What really makes the difference of all these talents is how they collaborate together, how productive this time is when they are here, and mostly how this is conducive to the outcome that a company desires. And at the end, what we are doing when all the very bright guys work on the highly strategic stuff, we are the guys at the back end who can pretty much find any solution that suits the corporation's needs and get an experience where individuals can get what they look for, whatever is their generation, their work style, and their needs. But I'm going to stop it here so the panel can move up, and I want to be slapped on my fingers.
Good. Thank you. So, with that, I already have some serious questions for each of you, but I feel as though transparency should be the name of this panel. Why? Because I think you know, my dear panelists, what are the biggest challenge? What's the biggest challenge that we're facing in the world of work today? And yeah, I almost want to start there and then go on to a solution, but I want this to be super speedy. But I'm going to start here with you first, because when we were speaking, and I bet you wish you never spoke to me before we started this panel, but that's okay. When we were speaking, you kind of, you said, we can solve work experience because now you can pay for work experience. Just say yes or no. Is that right?
No.
Okay, so you're not a business where you can pay for work experience?
So it's very different. What we offer is work experience. Obviously, this work experience need to be remunerated. And I think there's a whole dimension which interests probably more the CFO than the CTO or the employee itself, which is it's a substantially more cost-efficient and flexible way to operate, right? And this is what makes an incredible traction in the industry. But more fundamentally, the point there is work experience is the ability to get the workspace, the facility, the functionality that you need to actually get the talent becoming productive. And basically, corporation pay for that.
Got you. So one of the challenges that I think that our youngsters face, or in fact, perhaps we all face, is that the world of work has changed so much. We used to be expected to go into work. Then we had a period where we were expected or people hoped we wouldn't go into work and that we do our work from home. And now we have some kind of a hybrid. Now, this hybrid might work for some, but I think if the younger you are, the less it works for you. As in, you don't have that water cooler advice you might have. I mean, think about how much we've learnt in these few days here at the World Economic Forum. And you've learnt more perhaps by sharing a shuttle or walking on the promenade, or, the human interaction, vis-a-vis if this conference had happened and you plug in and you're online, how little you would have learned. So the need for office space is basically my point. So the biggest challenge, and two, the solution. And then it's going to be very fast, and for each of us, the same question.
So first, I totally disagree with your statement, because what we see is exactly the opposite. And to the contrary, the type of experiences that we or our competitors offer, which is hybrid, is fully in line with the RTSO. It's not a return to office, it's the return to several offices. And what you see, particularly the Gen Z, what they want is the ability to be flexible, which corresponds also to the need to the industries. And they want to be flexible in places that accommodate their needs. Their employers want them to be in places of quality. So the trend is actually to the contrary, and it's actually...
So you're saying, no, my point was that if you're only working from home, youth misses out. But if there's a hybrid, as in if you can go in, the interaction is really important.
That's exactly it. So hybrid is absolutely what is a whole traction for the employers and the employees. And what you see in these hybrid workplaces, particularly the type of flexible workspaces that the industry offers us or ours, we believe to do it better, but us or ours offer the same thing, is you come in this company, you can be 1, 2, 3 individual, and you can reach anyone from big S&P 500 company to the latest startup to the key tech to the individual guru that is here. They're all in one place, and you create an incredible community, an ecosystem where you can both learn, where generation can go together and so on. That's kind of the key thing that these workplaces bring, but I'm going to stop so my colleagues can also speak.
So you've answered the solution, and what's the biggest challenge the future of work faces?
I think the biggest challenge lies largely with our clients to have the ability to adapt to that point. So back to my opening point is talent strategy, getting into integrating technology and policy. How quickly can you do it? How fast do you do it? How do you adapt it? How do you fund it?
Okay, so this is what one might expect, that the person says the challenge is what my business, and the solution is my business, right? That is one way of answering this question. Another way might be, okay, that's what you both want to do. But another way might be a bigger philosophical challenge, maybe, I don't know, and then a solution. But you do what you want. Biggest challenge in this industry and best solution.
I think the biggest challenge is that we're entering a new era of work.
Yes.
We like to refer to it as work 4.0. Think of work 1.0 as the Industrial Revolution, work 2.0 as the kind of corporate 50s, 1950s. Think of work 3.0 as kind of the digital era, and work 4.0 as the human augmentation with AI. And I think the challenge is shifting into that. We had a great set of panelists before us talking about how a public and private partnership through education is really critical. I definitely agree with that. I think the solution is making sure that we as employers, governments, nations, we want to focus on the maximum point of leverage that would come from switching from the static credentials like work experience, education only, relying heavily on those. We want to switch from that to focus on what we think of as dynamic credentials and somebody's ability to demonstrate potential. And I think that's really, really important as we move into that era of Work 4.0.
Thank you very much. I like that.
Yeah, thanks. So the biggest challenge, I think it's orientation. I mean, the panel is called Future of Work, but before work comes education, and before education comes orientation. And I think this lady in the audience asked about her daughter and actually about her own orientation in terms of what to expect from the daughter. When I started my career, or when I went to school, that was in the 90s, early 2000s, I had a few options, like, you go to something like economical, or you go to some social stuff, or you go in technology, and like you have 3, 4, 5 options. And within like technology, which I chose, software development, you could choose 3 or 4 kind of paradigms, like either you do software, you do hardware, you do an exotic thing in between, like embedded, and that was it. Nowadays, only in software development, like there is no such thing as a software developer, actually. There is like thousands, maybe not thousands, but definitely dozens of different roles inside this one field. And what I see with a lot of young people is they lack orientation. What should I do? There is so much options. So I think this is a very big challenge, and we can talk a lot about AI, about home office, hybrid, and so on. But I think before we don't get out the confusion of what people should do and want to, and does that even match what they should do, what they want to, what we need as a society? This is the first question that we need to answer. And maybe just a comment on because I like myth busting a bit, a comment on the home office thingy. So it is totally, pardon my French, bullshit to say that people work more productive at home. That is just not true. You have a lot of studies.
So it's a myth that people are more productive.
Yes, that is just not true. So what do we want to measure? So why do we work? We work to produce. Okay, so the company wants to have an output, so we need to produce something, no matter if it's knowledge work or if you're a chef or something. And in order to produce, you need to work. And now what we've seen ever since the pandemic started is, everyone was remote, fully remote. Then some came back. And then what you see happening with all the big techs, with all larger corporations and so on, they all have back to office policies. Most of these policies are hybrid, same as for our company. We had 4 years, like everyone could do whatever they wanted, like we didn't have any kind of office policy, and then we kind of also returned the hybrid policy. But actually what companies would love mostly is to get everyone back. Just everyone is scared. The many studies that you read and the news that you read, like headlines, people are more productive at home and so on. You need to look into the data deeply. So these studies are all based on subjective answers from employees, right? But if you look in more technical studies, which are, let's say, how much software can I ship? How secure is that software? How many bugs I have in that software? That's just for software development, but you have similar studies to the other things as well. Then you will see that we actually decrease productivity by 10 to 15%. And there is a reason why these big techs who put millions and billions into research on getting more productive, because 0.5% more productiveness for a company like AWS or Amazon, who have more than 1 million employees, that is a huge load of money for them. So they know what they do. So yeah, just wanted to.
I appreciate that myth-busting kind of attitude. So I have two eager people who are keen to ask questions. Should we let ladies first, or would you like to ask first? You would like to ask first. Got that?
Wow.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, but we are coming straight to you after. Yes.
I have two questions, but short. From one side, high education is quite expensive, and young people difficult to find job now. In US and China, same problem. And in opposite side, some big tech hiring people with no education, but with good track and experience. What will be your suggestion for universities?
Do you run a university, or are you part of a university?
I'm not a part of
No,
university.
but it's just.
I'm asking what you think.
Yes.
What is your major suggestion for university? What she should do?
So, from the perspective of the university, or from the perspective of a student going into the
From
university?
perspective of you to university, what is your suggestion?
Okay. Who's burning to answer that? Yeah.
And have a second question.
Thank you.
Look, I think it's fascinating. I think it's a big challenge. I think that there's infrastructure here that we need to think about in this era of work that we're describing. I think I talked a little bit about dynamic potential. Those core values are adaptability, critical thinking, reasoning. Those are the skills of this future era of work. And I think universities, I was at AI House this week on the promenade, and we heard from, the University of Tokyo and their leaders. And I think one thing they've done is create a brand new department for how design and AI come together. And I think institutions will need to change around the teaching of those dynamic skills, of that dynamic potential. We also need to move away from a single learning education model where you just get educated and then you move out into the workforce. And to have ongoing learnings through our career, we have to lean into the critical thinking, adaptability, and we need to continue learning in a new type of structure. And I think universities are a critical part of that multiple layers of infrastructure, along with that private and public partnership that we're working hard here at WEF 26 to build with governments.
I couldn't agree with you more. So lifelong learning and values. And that values curriculum is actually what we're creating. So if you want to know more, we can definitely give you more. Before your second question, can I get the lady to ask a question?
Maybe
Sorry?
Very short. My second question is, current situation is following that many companies firing people due to AI. And other hand, people are also talking that AI should create new job. But nobody knows the way how to go from point now to point future.
Brilliant. Thank you. Are you okay to pass it along to the lady in the blue over there?
Yeah, very good question. And another myth. So first of all, I think in the past 15 years, we had the best time for decades. So actually, if we see that our parents, our grandparents have built up some kind of wealthy system, and we could focus on different areas which were not just like technical development and economical development. So we talked more about how can we save our climate, about life sciences, about the society, and so on and so on. Now, what we see currently in the past 2 or 3 years happening is that it becomes a bit harder. So we need to start growing the economy again. And with economy, I mean the entire economy. Like the stock market in the US, it is kind of rising. But if you would take out the tech companies, you would have their crisis as well. Now, why do I say that with regards to your question? Everyone is now talking about AI. And AI as a technology is there since like many decades. Now it is becoming a mass tool that gives us human superpowers to be more productive and to do more work. However, this is not happening overnight. And we are maybe a bit anxious and maybe a bit curious about how the future of work will look like, it will be an AI-assisted future of work. And AI will replace, certainly, different jobs and roles. Now it's replacing tasks like, write me the email in a nicer style or give me an analysis of this paper and so on and so on. But honestly speaking, there is a lot of clickbait and mass media or wrong perceptions of what's happening. So first of all, who of you is using AI on a daily basis, like ChatGPT for whatever? So basically everyone, right? Who of you has lost a job because of AI? Like really because of AI? No one. So 0%, right? This is the reality, and this is what happens out there as well. Some companies or in some news media, you might read that Microsoft, Amazon, whoever kind of cut some roles and so on because of AI. That's not true. They're discontinuing products, not because AI took over these roles, but because they don't need the products in the development of the products anymore. And my last point to that is, who of you work in an enterprise or in a company where AI has been implemented and introduced to replace an entire workflow from end to end, let's say sales or marketing stuff and so on? You? Okay, what is the workflow? Classifying documents. But this is only one part of the workflow. You do classify the documents for a reason, right? So it's not the entire workflow.
No,
okay.
Part of it. You
yeah.
Part of it.
No. Yeah.
People put their hands up.
Yeah. Okay. But what I'm asking is the entire workflow, and the thing is, no enterprise in the world, no automotive, no manufacturing company, not any one company has adopted AI now in an end-to-end workflow, and this will take years.
Okay. I get the point that it will take years, but your question was, 5 different people, including me, put their hand up, as in parts of our work. And it's not just rewrite an email. It's much more profound than that. Like I know because I see so many job cuts. I speak to employers all the time, and they say it's not even that we know how we're going to do it, but we know we don't want to take on as much of a workforce, or we want to let go of workforce. There's some kind of maybe there's that watershed moment where before the internet came or before technology came, you let go of people because you think things are going to get easier. Anyway, before I go further, I wanted to let you please answer a question. And Cyril, if you're okay to answer it so that everyone gets... 1 second. Please feel free to say your name and ask your question.
Thank you. I'm Ruth. I'm the Chief Executive of Lloyd's Register Foundation. I'm also the chair of the Institution of Occupational Safety and Health, which is a global organisation of professionals who are responsible for keeping workplaces safe. I'm finding it a very depressing discussion.
Sorry, we'll go back into optimism in just a moment.
It brings to mind Noam Chomsky, who says, don't put your children on a sausage machine, right? And even if you are ChatGPT, you say, how do I raise my children in this? It says, prepare your kids to be adaptable humans, not optimized workers, right? What are we doing? We're human. We're not optimized workers. We're human beings. So the education system, the way that we raise our kids needs to prepare us for that. And the world of work is one aspect of life. So, but it's a balanced thing. So what am I saying?
What's the
about
question?
the universities. So I just wanted to say about the universities. We have a partner who's a university opening a campus in Malaysia. When they had their intake of students, they found that 80% of students coming in had never had a conversation with a stranger. Never had a conversation with a stranger. They had to do 3 weeks of intensive work with those young people in order to prepare them, even to have conversations with the lecturers and things. So there's a lot of preparation from that education. I held my question over from the education piece. But asking the question here with my Institution of Occupational Safety and Health hat on, in the UK at least, it's the responsibility of the boards of companies to keep the health and welfare of their workers safe. And that can't be delegated elsewhere in the workforce. So my question to you is, how are you going to advise the boards of companies as they adapt the new technologies on what are the implementation of the workplace to keep the workers' welfare, mental welfare as well as physical welfare safe, as you would for any other workflow in any other process. So that's my question.
Is that okay, Cyril?
Yeah, let me get into points first on the positivity or negativity about the situation of the world. Just we got to do a little bit step back. 2 years ago, Sam Altman and Mr. Nadella were here, and the statement from Sam Altman was, guys, artificial intelligence is now starting to become public. Everyone gets really hyped up. By the time they figure out what it is, the world will calm down and life will carry on. Just let's go back. Beginning of the century, when industrialization came, everyone said mass unemployment, right? Then the computer came, then software came. Every time a new innovation came, internet, right now AI, every time it come in, human beings naturally have huge anxieties. The reality history tells us is it's always for the better, and I really love the point. AI is going to make humans more humans because they can dedicate their time to higher order tasks. That's what AI is going to be. Of course, there is, like in transition, some frictional moments. So anyway, to put back, I'm huge pro-technology. I think history has proven it. It will help us. Two, to your question, what's interesting is you have essentially three key players that can happen in that point. You have regulators that define standards, and if we put it stupidly, those guys come literally half a decade or a decade late and put huge paper books that are highly complicated, but eventually one complex. Two, what happens is fundamentally, what is the performance that corporations or employers need to be at the top end? And three, the other action that comes in place is what do employees want or desire? And I think there is a convergence that happens today where regulation has about hit what it is. We continue to go and adapt and comes always late. So anyway, follow it. Not that I'm saying it's irrelevant, it's important, but it's late. But today employers and employees really work to drive productivity. And I think that's where today the question of AI is interesting, because it will drive a lot of stuff that you can automate, think better, learn faster. And I also think that for the employees today, there's much more higher order demands in terms of what we call well-being. So think of stuff that happens where today you start to have artificial skylights in the office so you can follow the circadian cycle and have people in closed office feeling better. Look at pods being made that allow you to come in here and have neurosensible people that they can go 20 minutes in those pods and relax down. Or you have on the contrary stimulation of pods that happen. These elements are today taking shape in modern workplaces. And what you can see is typically, like pretty much everywhere, either you are super on the forefront of innovation, you get it in because you find it cool and you have a little bit of money aside, or to scale it, you're in big corporations. And what's interesting back to workplace and hybrid workplace is when you go in center like ours, one of the key concepts is you can come here and you're a single individual, you have one co-working desk that's not even reserved for you. If you want to have that pod, you have access to that technology. And that's why I think there is a whole traction, and that the future of workplace is going to be hybrid. It's going to be substantially more evolutive, it's going to be substantially more adaptable, and it's going to be substantially cooler. I do not have data for productivity. When I had accounting organization during COVID, we saw a higher number of transactions processed per day versus before. Particular case because we figured out less people came to chat to the nice accountants. Okay, isolated case. But in general, it's not so much about what is it, home or office. It's more about that both enterprises, industries, and individuals seek, appreciate, and benefit from increased flexibility and adaptability. People can work in different places. They're happier, they're more productive. They go the extra mile.
Okay, so we
Not sure I answered your question, but it was a good story, no?
We have an optimistic note. Thank you for moving the
Maybe
mic along.
Just a very quick answer to this question, because this is super important.
Questions.
So first of all, let me put something straight. I'm super optimistic about the future. I think we should, every one of us should be. This is very positive. At the end of the day, technology will replace technology, and we as human beings will be able to have a social life again. And do the things that really matter, take care of our children, of the elderly, and so on. Mental health is it should be a human right. Okay, so my first point is before talking to any board of directors, so advising them is if anyone works in a company and they do not feel mentally healthy because of the work, leave. Leave immediately. Don't try to solve that problem from the inside. That is not your responsibility. Leave that company, look for another job. You're going to find one. And I think it is important to create this awareness for people, for employees, that they have a right to be treated with respect, responsibly, and all of these things. And when people and employees, genuinely know about this right and keep leaving companies that are unhealthy or toxic, the market will do the rest of the job. And the board of directors, or generally kind of companies, will adapt and try to become better. How they become better, this is their job.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. And I think we were having lots of people nod around the room when you said, don't try and fix the problem, leave. Leave, but maybe leave and give feedback so that some iteration can take place. I know you've been very keen to ask, so feel free. And
yes, thanks a lot.
Feel free to introduce yourself.
I am coming from a mathematics education background, and I have 2 questions. I'm working on taking all these new technologies into the practice of teaching, and my goal is also to make maths learning and teaching more fun. And my question, the first question relates to the critical thinking. So on one hand, AI makes all information instantly available. On the other hand, to really get deep knowledge, deep understanding of a subject, to have these expert skills that you need for critical thinking, you need to invest on a continuous basis regularly into acquiring your knowledge. For example, in mathematics. This is the first question, and my other question relates to, do you think that mathematics will play in the future an important role, mathematical skills?
Very good question.
Do you want to?
Yeah, I think so, because
I think that's a really important question. I think what the data shows, and of course my philosophy, is I want to be clear that not all hard skills have the capability to be replaced with AI and AI augmentation. I think that's really, really critical to understand. We still need discipline and expertise. As you mentioned, augmentation around research, augmentation around basic reasoning, but then applying those dynamic skills to and in partnership with those hard skills like mathematics is really, really critical. So I think that's very important. And I think for all of us here, we're all leaders. You're from various institutions. I think the reality is we often think very much about growth strategy for all of our companies, for our governments, for our organizations. As we transition into this next era, that's going to be top of mind. But I think what I feel is very important is making sure that you perceive growth strategy as talent strategy.
I love that. And I have to just say regarding mathematics, of any subject that's going to survive is definitely mathematics. There's a real need both in our AI world and post-AI world. So it's core. Is there any other? I know you do. Anyone else? Only because I gave you a chance, and I'm going to give it to that person first. Thank you. Equality. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for also the interesting topic. I work as a chief people and organization officer, Central Bank of Denmark, and my question is, how should we as HR and HR also helping middle management in this transition? And it was actually a question maybe to the first panel also about if things are shifting into action learning, upskilling, lifelong learning. I see the employers having a big responsibility also in that journey, and we haven't really touched upon that. And maybe you could comment. It's both a societal responsibility, I think, and the other observation I have is that we see senior or more need for senior profiles and less need for the junior profiles. When management come and ask me to help them recruit, I see a shift towards the senior profiles because of AI. So how do we secure the pipeline, take the responsibility for the gap between being junior and senior, and what do you think we can do as employers and also as HR?
Well, firstly, I love the question because I see that shift, hence my point that for graduates, it's tough right now. And secondly, you're from Denmark. Have you ever been more in the news? But it's an important day for you and an important week, so thank you for being here. Who would like to take that?
We work a lot with CHROs because as part of the biggest event for technology, we also run a side event, which is one of the Europe's leading events for HR leaders. And because the future of work and especially in technologies is to our heart and close to what we do. I think that what I see often, and I see that maybe undiplomatically, but this is what I see, is there is a real big misconception on the board level between CHRO, CIO, CTO, whatever, CEO, and so on. We did a study recently where we asked about the KPIs of these different executive leaders, and turned out that like the KPIs on a very high level barely overlap. So and I worked a lot of times with CHROs on kind of exactly these topics that you mentioned, and what I saw is that how would I put it diplomatically? Kind of.
Should we drop the diplomacy Chatham House rules?
I really feel with you because I see the pain you have. Like oftentimes, very limited budget, no proactive support from the other departments. You're trying your best to actually create the environment for the whole organization to come. You develop great strategies, but they then kind of lack on execution because you miss the support of other departments. That's at least what I saw on a corporate level with many big corporates, and that's a really, really big issue. Now, what I think that every company and every organization needs to do is on a board level really to sit down and have a tough talk and say, what do you want the HR department to be? Do you want us to just do the administration of the employees? Do you want to develop talents, educate them, learning, L&D? Do you want us to hire the best engineers in the world? Do you want us to educate our own people? Do you want us to just be cost efficient and so on? And I think that we have a lot of sugarcoating there because many HR departments don't even know why they are there. They think they need to develop talent strategies, whereas the CEO actually just sees them as, hey, yeah, we need it for good PR, but actually we want to keep the costs low. And I think we need a really honest conversation about that as well.
Thank you. Really quick, just to add. You have the opportunity as a CHRO to be, and not to scare you, more technical than ever with this next era of work. I think what matters is how you embrace an AI-first culture throughout the organization. I think our HR partners, right? I'm a chief technology officer. This partnership you described, we have to really elevate the partnership between those stakeholders in the organization, and you have to really drive that AI culture, and you need to plant seeds such that it comes bottom up and not only just top down as a strategy. And I think the companies and the nations who harness the power of dynamic potential the best will see the best economic resilience as well as workforce resilience for many years to come. This is a defining moment for folks like you as a CHRO to define that track for your organizations. And we work with global companies, including banks, and I think the excitement that we see from CHROs and leaders is really promising and really exciting.
I'm not sure you're feeling the excitement right now, but over time, we'll get there, we'll get there. So I'd love the final question to go to Cyril, and then we'll wrap up.
I'm ready.
Yes, yes.
The toughest question now.
Oh, the toughest question.
Hello.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ro, based out of New Jersey, former CIO, now turned board member with Jersey STEM. We work with underprivileged communities and specifically middle school girls. Each of you in prior panel also talked about learning and continuous learning. My experience has been the challenges with unlearning and teaching people how to unlearn certain behaviors, particularly when it comes to senior management, executives, etc., board members as well. Question for you, Cyril, and others as well. What have you personally unlearned in the last year?
I love that question. Oh, and the hand has shot up.
Yeah,
Let the gentleman have a quick comment because he might add an extra twist.
There's no such thing as unlearning.
What do we mean by that? It's just impossible to unlearn, as in perhaps you don't use that behavior anymore, or you've been taught not to use that behavior.
We learn things and then we get neurological pathways.
Yes, fine.
We cannot unlearn those.
Okay.
We can stop using them.
Yes, exactly.
But we cannot unlearn.
Exactly. Okay, that's
it's
fair.
something that people say.
But basically what the question is still remains that...
Totally.
Yeah. So, and I love the fact that she made it personal.
Yeah, so let me try to go that back on the framing. Sure, there's all these biological statement and whatever, but think of it like a computer and a software. There is your hard disk and there is your random access memory, or I think unlearning is having your random access memory active, and unlearning, I would not frame it that way. I'd rather frame it in the sense of agility. So what's agility? This is permanently adapt to circumstances. If I have to go back to me, I moved from comparatively highly documented, superstructured company where essentially you can't make a decision even if without formal documentation, and even if it's short in 2 or 3 mails, and I had to move very quickly with a shareholder on a phone to say, this is the business question when you go in. So what was my agility is to learn that after a quarter of a century, to make it dramatic, of a quarter of a century in a quarter of a year, moved to be okay that you do not have a policy that backs everything, be okay that you had just a phone call, and be okay that your data is only partial. So not sure, but it's pretty impressive. It took me a little bit stepping out of the comfort zone, but I need to admit that I really do appreciate the simplicity, the fluidity, and the fact that it gets you more time to market. That would be my attempt to answer the personal question.
I feel as though our geopolitical leaders have unlearned and learned that very fast. So, to that, I'm going to wrap up with saying one quick, like literally within 60 seconds, something that each of you really think would enhance everyone and all those who are listening, their lives through your experience and learnings.
Embrace the transition of work. I think it's important to look at how history through those generations of work eras will inform where we are headed, but it is entirely different. And we're rewriting. I want you all to think of this as a new operating system for work in Work 4.0.
Very nice, thank you. Thank you for the brevity too.
I'd put it a bit differently maybe, but it has still to do with future of work. I think that, and it's also related to the question of the lady. So what I have learned personally is to kind of try to be happier and focus on what matters. So for me, unlearning is actually the equivalent to focusing on what really matters. And what really matters is that we are happy as human beings. When we are happy, then we are also going to do a better work and be happier at work. And focusing on what matters is like, let's not take everything too seriously. We live in the best time that human beings could have lived, and the future is optimistic. It's gonna be better and better. It's per definition, it needs to be better. Let's do the simple small things to be happier and give also that back to our kind of surroundings. So why don't we all after this panel, just give a quick call to our mothers, fathers, daughters, wives, cats, whatever. Just say hello and so on. We will be like 0.01% happier. It's a step.
I love that. So I don't know who here believes in neuro-linguistic programming or the Silver method, but literally when they sign off, be better and better. So I love that you use those words. So quick challenge for each of you is that whoever you call whenever there's a panic moment, and at Davos there are so many panic moments, or that person that always you call when you need to be rescued, maybe just call them today and just say thank you. Already that will make everything better. Your final 1 minute, Kat. tripled it.
I loved what my co-panelist said. I would say it in 3 points is the future is always brighter than the past, and most of it lies in your decision to view it that way. The second point, I say life is learning, and learning is agility. That's probably the biggest thing we can embrace for ourselves, but also for society, and particularly for our children who really struggle with the speed at which things change. And the third point is, I think, combining the two, it's all about experiences, and I'm not making a cheap spiel at work experiences in my group, but I'm making a point as a human that I think the only way we can actually adapt and learn is through experimenting. So that's about taking action.
So the future is brighter, learning is agility, and it's all about experiences. I think obviously we can't tweet that, there is no tweet, but we could go do it, whatever you learned from this panel or session, and whatever is your preferred platform, perhaps LinkedIn since we're talking about work, but you decide, feel free to please do, tweet about this, and it would be really good to then proliferate, because whatever you're learning in these closed sessions, I feel as though can inspire and can help all those who weren't able to join us. And so feel free to connect with us on LinkedIn, and we really would love one quick photo.
Let's do that.
Nice. Oh, thank you guys, appreciate that.